Hello, Mr. Grass. It's a pleasure. Welcome to Boom&Bust, and thank you for joining us today. Switzerland will hold a referendum to decide whether to ban commercial banks from creating money. The campaign is led by the Swiss sovereign monetary movement known as Vollgelt, I'm not quite sure, Initiative, and it's designed to limit financial speculation by requiring private banks to hold 100% reserves against their deposit. Firstly, could you explain to us in brief, what's fractional reserve banking? What about the mechanics behind that?
Okay. Yeah, maybe the best would be that we go just shortly into monetary history, because there is a popular misconception about what is money and how money came into existence. Because I think this is key also to understand, does it make sense, that we decide to end fractional reserve banking and hand over the total power to a central bank? When we look at how money came into existence, basically, we had nomad-style people in the past living off nature, but not producing or adding anything to it. And then finally, they settled down and started to farm. And of course, that was also the beginning of the division of labor. And the division of labor meant, that everyone was doing what he was best at. So, for example, a butcher became a butcher, and another was good in making shoes. The third one was good in baking bread, and so on. And that's how everything started. So they had, barter became the commonplace. Mm-hmm. So, the butcher, when he was looking for something else, then he was exchanging a real good. For example, the butcher went to the baker and then gave some meat against bread and so on. Mm-hmm. And of course, barter became the commonplace, but it was a problem because you always needed to find another counterparty which was accepting that kind of good. And that's basically how, gold and silver came into existence, So what we learn from history is that money doesn't come into existence by force or legislation. It is in essence, a market process where people decide freely what they want to choose and accept as money. And it has been a real good. So now when it comes to fractional reserve banking, let's assume, the ECB or the European banks at the moment, they have to keep, if you bring 1 million to the bank, they have to keep basically 1% of the money on stock, and the rest they can lean it out. So when you deposit 1 million, basically then with the fractional reserve banking and the 1% minimum requirements, you can create another 100 million of money. And of course, if you accelerate the money supply without having also goods going up or increasing at the same time in the same value, what you are going to face is, of course, higher prices because there is more money chasing the same amount of goods. And so fractional reserve is definitely a fraud.
Mr. Grass, why are the Swiss trying to repeal fractional reserve banking using the referendum? What's the ultimate goal?
I think, the main reason why those people came up with that kind of idea is definitely that, in 2007, when we were witnessing, that the banks are playing those bad games, people have seen, that they don't trust the actual monetary system, and so they thought that they are not happy, what's going on, and they were trying to find other possibilities, and they thought, the banks are always being bailed out. They can create money out of thin air. They can earn an interest on something which is basically, not there. So that this is unfair, and at the same time we were making, millions of bonuses. And so I think those kind of people, they thought, well, private money creation is definitely something bad based on that concept, and that's why they came up with that sovereign money, positive money, which is an old idea. I think it exists for at least 50, 60 years, and I think we already had back in Switzerland, we had, I think, once or twice a similar concept brought up, and we always refused it.
Mr. Grass, if the referendum succeeds, what would be the result? More free market in banking and the inflation brought to a halt, or total state control over the money supply? What's your opinion? What's your mind on that?
I don't know. I mean, you're from Bulgaria, so communism. And, the 10 commandments of communism, for example, from Karl Marx, one of the 10 commandments, and I just quoted, it's a centralization of credit in the hands of the state by means of a national bank with state capital and an exclusive monopoly. So, I mean, if we would accept those kind of ideas, then we are going, then this would be Karl Marx's dream. So there is definitely no, there will be no, it's not going to improve anything. I mean, it's just going to empower a central bank, which is doing then basically, they are fully responsible. Private banks are not allowed to do anything any longer. So it's an acceleration of centralization. And this also leads, when you look at Lord Acton, who always said, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. That's exactly what would happen. But, I don't believe that this vote is going through. I think that's, that's the Swiss people always showed in the past, that we can debate. If we see something is going wrong, we can hand in an initiative or we can collect signatories. Basically, our politicians, they don't have that much power. So, still the sovereign, because of direct democracy and so on, are the Swiss people. And so it's good, to have these kind of debates, because it just shows the people also in Switzerland, they are not happy with the monetary system. And so they're trying to find other ways. And of course, when it comes to that Vollgelt-Initiative, they are looking for a solution on the wrong side. We need more privatization, decentralization instead of centralization and nationalization.
One final question, yeah. Well, in this context, Mr. Grass, do you think the world needs deep monetary and banking reform, and if yes, on what direction?
Tough
question, I know.
I mean, look at what Draghi is doing. Look at what the central bankers are doing. I mean, this system. If it would be possible that we can print money out of thin air, that we can create wealth out of thin air, I mean, then we don't have to work at all. So why don't the central banks give us directly 1 million of Swiss francs on an annual basis, and we can all live a happy life? We all know this is not possible, and it's nonsense. So at the end of the day, I don't see any changes coming from the top of the central banks. Of course, they want to empower even more what they're doing right now, but that will end at the end of the day into a complete full-scale collapse of the actual monetary system and the fiat money system, which paper money came into existence because it used to be a receipt for a real good, and now it's a receipt for nothing. It's just hot air. And look at the trillions they have. We had 2008, we stood at 140 trillion credit. Today we are standing at 200 trillion credit. And look at the real economy, it's going nowhere. Look at the mess which we are facing on a global scale.
It's an amazing, Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Grass. We hope you enjoyed this talk as we did. Wish you the best of luck, and we kindly invite you to be our guest here in Bulgaria as soon as possible. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grass.
Thank you as well. Have a very good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.